Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight on our news.
The Prime Minister said he expected more from the opposition leader's national address and said he hoped that Davis would have apologized.
Leader of the opposition, Philip Brave Davis, gives his first national address as leader of the PLP.
A man dies on Ambrista Street, Fox Hill.
The acting commissioner of police speaks out on crime.
Our news is brought to you by Alive, the nation's newest and best LTE network.
Good to be alive. Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. I'm Vonik Tude. Topping news tonight, Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis says he has no problem being questioned by police. He was responding to opposition leader Philip Davis, who in his address to the nation last night hit out at the Minnis administration over its plans for the economy and renewed calls for government to end what he called its political witch hunt. Kyle Joaquin reports.
We caught up with the Prime Minister during a tour of Albany today. He said, frankly, he expected more from the opposition leader's national address. He said he wished Davis would have apologized.
Right now, Brave is fighting for his own survival, right?
And that's all Prime Minister Minnis says the opposition leader has been doing. This as Davis, in his national address Monday night, lashed out at the Prime Minister, saying Minnis' national address last week offered no vision, concrete policies, or credible plans for the country. Davis also acknowledged that the former Christie administration made some serious errors that cost the party the trust of the people. However, Minnis says Davis didn't go far enough.
And if you made mistakes and you know you made a mistake, I was listening for the apology. There was no such apology. I was hoping that he would say to the Bahamian populace, yes, we've made a mistake. Going forward, we would like to see these type of mistakes never to occur again. And I'm sorry for what has happened, and I would love to enter discussion with not only the Prime Minister, the Attorney General, so that we can deal with the mistakes that we've made to ensure that we put systems in place, deal with those who were wrong or who did wrong to the Bahamas, so that it never, ever, ever happens again.
Davis also used his address to hit out at the F&M government's anti-corruption measures. 2 former PLP MPs have been charged on bribery counts. The opposition leader asked that the government's anti-corruption process be non-political and not degenerate into selective witch hunts. This comes a week after Davis's letter to Minnis promising payback was leaked to the media. Additionally, the Tribune reported today that attorney Wayne Monroe QC said he has completed his list of alleged corrupt members of the Free National Movement, but that he won't send it to the police just yet. Minnis said if his name is called, even as Prime Minister, he has no problem answering questions put forth by the police.
And be it F&M, PLP, Bahamians, whatever, we deal with it. It has nothing to do with seniority, political affiliation, or financial status. We just want to eradicate it. And that's the approach the opposition should take. And if they feel that I did wrong, I have no objection to the Attorney General and Anti-Corruption Unit calling me forward and interviewing me. And I would hope that he too has no objection.
For our news, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
Thanks, Kyle. Now, during that national address last night, Philip Davis acknowledged that mistakes were made by the Progressive Liberal Party during its last term in office. Here's Jasmine Brown.
While the opposition leader took the Prime Minister and his administration to task on a number of issues, he also admitted that the former Christie administration made a number of mistakes.
Our previous administration was not perfect. We made mistakes, including some serious ones. But we were always especially mindful of the people impacted by our policies. We did not and do not think in terms of statistics, but in terms of individuals, people, families, neighbors, and friends.
While he did not list those mistakes, Davis said they resulted in voters delivering a powerful message for change. The general election on May 10th saw the PLP suffer a crushing defeat at the polls, capturing just 4 of the 39 seats in the House of Assembly. Davis admitted that the PLP lost the trust of the Bahamian people on too many fronts and asserted it's now up to the party to regain that trust.
3 months ago, the Bahamian electorate sent a powerful message for change. We face very serious challenges, and like so many other nations, have struggled to create enough jobs, grow quickly enough, or solve our security problems. With their votes, Bahamians decided to see if the FNM can do better. It is a message which we in the Progressive Liberal Party heard loudly and clearly.
However, the PLP interim leader says the party is not dwelling on its past mistakes and is forging ahead with plans to reform and rebound.
We have already begun a period of listening, of consultation and reflection. We approach this task with humility and with determination. In our conversations throughout the archipelago, Bahamians tell us they still profoundly support the ideology and mission of the PLP. They know that the PLP has brought about the biggest, best, and most profound positive changes that are the foundation of the modern Bahamas.
The opposition leader added that while the PLP was not perfect, it always had the best interests of the Bahamian people at heart. Reporting for our news, I'm Jasmine Brown.
A young man was shot dead in the Fox Hill area this morning. April Sands has the details of this latest murder.
Well, it's another act of violence in the Fox Hill area where one man believed to be in his mid-20s is left dead. Chief Superintendent Solomon Cash says the victim, believed to be in his mid-20s, pulled up outside an apartment complex on Ambrista Street off Fox Hill in this blue Honda Civic this morning. Minutes later, he was dead.
Sometime around 10:45 a.m. this morning, the deceased came to this location in his vehicle. He was accompanied by another individual where they were accosted by several young men who were standing alongside on Bristol Street. One of the individuals produced a weapon as the deceased exited his vehicle, and they shot him multiple times.
Cash says it was unclear to police what brought the young man to the area. As homicide detectives conducted their preliminary investigation, a woman who claimed to be the young man's mother approached the crime scene yelling, "I want to see my son." Frederick Williams, a resident of the area, recalls hearing several gunshots fired before he saw what was going on.
And when I looked to the south, I saw like the rain clouds. And then I just rest on my car, and I started to hear some gunshot. And I look up, and when I look up, I came out from my car to the road, and I see people running.
Police are asking anyone with information to contact them anonymously.
I can say now that currently we are following some significant lead as to this latest homicide. But we are also appealing to members of the public who resides in this area or who lives in this area.
This latest killing brings the country's murder count for the year to 84. Reporting for our news, I'm April Sands.
Amid questions over whether Commissioner of Police Allison Greenslade is on his way out, Acting Commissioner Anthony Ferguson held a news conference this afternoon to address the spike in murders. Here's Giorgio Bain.
The Royal Bahamas Police Force has a new acting commissioner, and despite a murder happening just this morning, he says it's not fair to count the number of bodies, but appeals to the Bahamian people to help to curb the issue.
I don't think that it's fair to count bodies. I think that any single killing is really sends shockwaves around, so I try not to be worrying about the count. I want to be able to, as a Bahamian, I want to be able to prevent anybody from being killed. And I encourage all Bahamians to think about their life. Don't think about the count.
That was Acting Commissioner of Police Anthony Ferguson's response when asked by reporters about the country's murder count for the year. During a news conference held at police headquarters today, Ferguson was also asked about the status of Commissioner Allison Greenslade.
What's the current status of Allison Greenslade?
Pardon me?
Allison Greenslade?
I am not going to speak on anything other than the crime this evening.
Rumors about changes on the force came months after Greenslade, who has security of tenure, announced that Anthony Ferguson has been promoted to the rank of Deputy Commissioner of Police. National Security Minister Marvin Dames has also refused to comment on Greenslade's future on the Royal Bahamas Police Force. Former FNM Chairman Darren Cash has said comments about Greenslade's fate are troubling to him. However, Dames called this nonsense and urged Cash to get the facts. Today's news conference came hours after a man was gunned down in Fox Hill. Ferguson says police have a suspect they want to question in connection with this latest killing.
I am pleased to make the public aware that the police are following significant lead. We are looking for a Dion Demerit, aka Hatchet. He is the person responsible for the latest homicide this morning in the Bristol Street, Fox Hill area.
With several murders recorded in 2 weeks, the acting commissioner had this message for the public.
We need the Bahamian people. A lot of information lies in those same communities. A lot of information that will prevent crime and prevent these criminals from running about the streets with guns lie in the communities. And I want to appeal particularly to those persons who know those persons who are running around with guns. Those guns kill. Don't wait until you are injured by those guns. Now is the time to turn those criminals in.
Reporting for our news, I'm Giorgio Bain.
Following many questions about the Minnis administration's recent board appointments, Press Secretary Anthony Newbold revealed today that adjustments will have to be made to some of those lists. 104 boards and committees were named this month, with over 6,200 people reportedly expressing an interest in being appointed. However, it turns out some of those people listed on those boards are deceased. Additionally, questions have been raised about the University of the Bahamas board and the process by which members were selected. Newbold admits there were oversights.
There are some adjustments that need to be made to the boards. There will be some adjustments made to the boards. I'm not sure about the University of the Bahamas board. I'm presuming that what should have happened. That's another one of those questions that I have to go and specifically look at that board and say, talk to people and say, what happened with this board? Tell me. But there are some adjustments that need to be made to the boards.
There are oversights.
Some oversights. Some adjustments need to be made to the board. So,
but that shouldn't have happened.
And as we talk about, a lot of things shouldn't happen, Travis.
Newbold says these oversights have been brought to the Prime Minister's attention and will be corrected shortly.
From the Prime Minister's standpoint, he would like perfect, but what he promised was effective. And so whatever boards we have, they better be effective. And that's his ultimate aim for these boards that have been appointed, to be effective. They're not going to be perfect. We'd like for them to be. But again, there were some oversights. There's some adjustments.
He's aware of some of the oversights.
Yeah, they've been brought this attention. They were brought this attention right away.
Members of the Minnis cabinet reportedly met for hours and even on weekends to discuss board appointments. When asked how it was possible that deceased people were appointed to boards, when F&M Chairman Sidney Cawley has claimed that over 6,000 people expressed an interest, Newbold said this.
And that's one of those boards that you have to look at and say, what happened with this board here? Were individual applications actually, were they all looked at? Or did they look at this board and say, this board looks good, let's just reappoint them? They can slip through them because they're human. We wouldn't want it to again, but it can happen, as it obviously did.
The press secretary says there is no assurance he can give that such an oversight will never happen again. The Minnis administration has committed to providing Crown land for the Bahamas Christian Council to build its headquarters, according to the press secretary, who says the Prime Minister respects members of the Christian Council as earthly beings and will not judge them.
The Prime Minister committed to providing some land for the Christian Council so that they could build a proper headquarters. Prime Minister says it's a group for which he has the highest respect, actually, and admiration. And he respects them as the earthly representatives of God. He's not going to judge them. As some people do, he has no problems working with them. I know the ministers have been in the news recently. He says he won't judge them. He will leave that to God.
The new Christian Council spoke out recently on a number of issues, including crime and the arrest of former parliamentarians. Newbold says the Christian Council asked for land.
And we wouldn't want to see the church struggling to find some place to build headquarters. Yes, essentially it's the Bahamian people.
Do we have any indication, a timeline of when that might happen?
No, but the Christian Council, they probably have to make some, they probably have to do some things themselves before they come back to the government and say, this is the amount of land we need, or this is where we would like to have the land if possible. And once that's done, again, the Prime Minister is committed, as he said, he's committed to working with them hand in hand.
And still to come on our news, members of the Minnis administration tour Albany, plus why the opposition leader is lashing out at the new government. So stay with us.